Hello, Abhilash. Can you hear me? Abhilash, are you there?
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, Abhilash, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. I'll share my content.
Yes, ma'am. Able to see, ma'am.
You can see. Okay, all good, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. I'll start at 3.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Abhilash, this is Meghna. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't see any participation here, right?
Yes, ma'am. I'm also wondered. I just called Divya.
It's okay. We'll wait for another 2, 3 minutes, else we will exit.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, let's wait
Okay.
for 2, 3 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Meghna Yadav, the presenter of the session today. On behalf of KLAY Prep Schools and Daycare, I extend a very warm welcome to each one of you. We will make this session interactive. So I do see some participants joining in. Feel free to unmute yourself or feel free to post your questions in the chat window. If you have any questions related to your child's learning curve, how is it going under this pandemic? If you have any questions regarding your role in it, meanwhile, we can converse till few more participants join us, and then I'll share some research-based findings with each one of you. So, those who have already joined, please feel free to type your questions, your thoughts, any concerns, any experience that you would like to share. Please feel free to do so. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Meghna Yadav, the presenter of the session today, and a very warm welcome to each one of you for joining us in. You are more than welcome to unmute and talk or put your thoughts in the chat window. If you have any questions, I will quickly run through my intro and a few tips that we have seen happening across globe, and I can share more research-based findings with you when I start answering your questions. If and when possible, please feel free to share your thoughts, your feedback, or any questions or concerns during the session. So, very warm welcome and thank you so much for logging in. On behalf of KLAY, I extend a very warm welcome to each one of you, and I hope we will make this session interactive so that both of us can learn from each other. Just to make you comfortable, I have done my master's in child psychology, and I'm working in this field for close to now 22 years. Across many countries, but right now I'm working heavily with Indian parenting setup, and I have into the opportunity to interact with close to 30 to 35 families a day when I conduct either group sessions or when I talk to them. I also work for as a consultant to KLAY for the training and parent partnership initiative, and pretty much with the same thought of parent partnership. KLAY brings these webinars related to parents' thoughts, parents' questions, and we create these webinars to help you in this beautiful journey of parenting. Under this pandemic, we have conducted multiple sessions at multiple platforms, and this is a part of that where we have seen many questions coming from parents when we especially talk about learning of children and how do I proceed as parent, what should I do when it comes to learning and growth curve of my child. And I can very well relate with each of these questions simply because I'm also a mother of two, a boy and girl, and I have similar set of questions when I work with my own children as mother. And I also feel that there are many parents out there who are actually not very clear on where we are going towards in terms of education in this country under this pandemic, and should we continue or should we not? Keeping these thoughts in mind, I would say parents, it is actually a situation which is not only in India, which is actually everywhere across globe. We have a challenge where I would say close to 90% students across 188 countries are not able to attend school due to this pandemic, and close to 1.5 billion children are not able to attend a school in person. And this is something that has never happened in past. It has never happened. So these are unprecedented times, and every single country is still exploring the best way because the challenge is that every single day that a child misses in the growth period is crucial. Now, here we are not talking about a few days or few weeks. This is the situation for months together now, and we really don't know how many more months or so we will struggle under this. So, we are really in a situation where every single country is finding the best solution out. UNICEF has published a beautiful report with some strong data coming out from various countries. You can see on your screen, I have shared some pictures, real pictures with you, just to tell you that every single country is trying its level best. You can see here a child taking notes from radio because the lessons are broadcasted through radio. There are countries that are also having opportunities for children to follow physical exercises at least through TV broadcast. It's for sure one-way communication. So radio, TV, these are one-way communication happening, but the still countries are trying to bring the right kind of learning to children as young as 3 to 4 years old. And in the same line, we have countries like US where they have started interactive programs for children in preschool, and we do have many countries where the broadcast is age specific, but again a very one-way communication happening. And in India, most of the times in private sector, it is happening through internet, where it is a two-way interactive sessions with good schools. Whatever be the scene is, the challenge is that the schools are closed, but the good part is that learning has not stopped, and it should not stop. It should not stop for our children. It has to grow. They have to learn, and they have to use time wisely. And as parents, we really need to understand that why the world is so concerned about learning of children, and why the countries are looking forward to find every possible solution so that the children of the country do not suffer. They continue to learn, they continue to grow. And that is why UNICEF and many similar organizations that are working across globe with many children are concerned, because the reality is that there is a pandemic. We need to fight it out. The physiological challenge is there for sure. But apart from physiological challenge, it is also posing psychological and mental challenges to children when the days are not productively used for children to communicate, to talk, to learn, to understand new concepts. And then it is not only impacting that particular time of growth, but the impact is seen to be long lasting. The children are found uh, to struggle in their elementary schooling if they do not receive enough stimulation in early years of development. Research also highlight that inquisitive nature of children decreases if they are not given adequate stimulation in first few years of life through various learning opportunities. And that is why most of the countries are trying to educate parents, and are trying to build a phenomenon which will at least result in some kind of learning for children. And this is of high significance for us too in India, because close to 30% of our population is still young, and we really need to invest in this lot of population. This tiny little virus that has taken up our energies and has thrown such a huge challenge on each one of us. We are calling this year as the year of small things. So, parents, dear, if you are listening to me, my humble request, understand that this is a huge battle which can be fought by making minor adjustments and minor changes in day to day functioning. And that's where this webinar is coming from. If this is a year of small things, why not we as parents focus on the small changes that we need to bring in our lives so that our children can continue learning? And I will share some very basic tips with you before I open it up for your Q&A. So just to make it clear to you, you are more than welcome to ask questions or share your thoughts or your struggles or challenges that you are facing. I can help you in finding the solutions through scientific acumen, but if I'm not able to, I will try to get it and stay connected with you to find the right solution. But why I'm saying again and again that the learning has to continue. The schools can close, but the learning cannot close. So The very reason behind that is a simple science. We see under preschool years and school years of children, especially the first 8 to 9 years of a child's life, there are sensitive periods of development and they reach their peak in early years. You name the very basic personality functioning through emotions, vision, or hearing, or you call it in development in terms of literacy, like numeracy or any symbolic understanding, analytical skills. All of that happens only when children are given the right kind of exposure, the brain gets the right kind of stimulation to grow. And that's when these concepts and these strengths are reached at their peak. And if we miss this opportunity, if we miss this window, then it is going to be a great struggle in later years. We might not see the direct impact, but somewhere it is known that if children are not given adequate support in first few years of life, they are found to be struggling not only in terms of numeracy and literacy, but also in terms of comprehension, in terms of socialization, in terms of leadership skills. So parents, we really need to first of all understand that these are crucial years. That's the first step to understand. And the second thing that research is supporting is that we really cannot afford to miss the months together of learning. We really cannot actually miss the months together of growth and learning, and we really have to focus heavily on development of our children by giving them the right kind of exposure. So yes, there are areas where we need to focus on in early years, and let us see where we are today and what all we can offer. So World Health Organization is also highlighting that very first thing that we need to do is that for adults it is recommended to have at least 30 minutes of daily physical activity and 1 hour for children. And this physical activity or jumping around or interactions are fine to happen even if it is happening through a screen. What the world is highlighting is that it has to happen at any cost. So even if you have online exercise classes or you are playing games or anything. For adults and children, it is now coming to a level where we need to find the midway and we need to help our children to stay active. So the very first thing that I would say that we need to take note of, parents, is that there are certain things or certain changes we need to bring into our routine. And if we want to continue the learning curve of our children, be it through academics or socialization or any other aspect of human development, let us focus on these 7 C's. I have already started getting questions. I will come back to you with the answers very soon. And let me quickly share these 7 C's with you. And parents, you are more than welcome to not accept all the C's. You are more than welcome to not agree with all the 7 C's that I'm sharing with you. Simply because your family is unique, your child is unique, you are unique, but this is something that most of the parents are trying to adopt across globe. So I thought, why not share with you as well, and you can pick and choose what works for you. So the very first step of this 7 step guide is that as parents, we need to be heavily clear about what is going on around us. So the very first thing as parents we need to do is to accept the reality. My dear parents, please see that if you ask me in the normal circumstances when the world is not fighting any pandemic, and if you ask me what's the ideal way to continue your child's learning, my answer would be leave the child with other children. Allow your child to interact in group settings because as much as a child learns in group setting by observing other children, by playing with other children, by talking, fighting, biting, kicking with other children, nothing can beat that. Actually, nothing can beat that. That's a very ideal scenario. But this pandemic has given us huge challenge of keeping children indoors most of the time. And we really, really cannot allow them to go to their preschools, schools, daycares, or in group settings within the community. Children playing with each other, even in the evening, is a rare scene now. So, parents, let's be very clear. So, the very first suggestion that is coming out through various researches that parents, we need to be very practical in our approach, very realistic in our approach, digest this very fact that we are not living in an ideal world right now, and we need to be ready to make certain changes, the small changes in our lives, and to keep that in mind, the very first thing is to be clear, and second thing is to move on and understand the configuration in a day. So, screen is coming out as a great solution because it is allowing children to continue their learning curve. You must have seen in the beginning that how countries are trying their level best to give as much stimulation to a child's brain as possible by any means, be it radio, be it TV, or be it internet or tablets. So, mm, we as parents need to move on to the second step and configure screen time in our children's routine. We have no other option, but we have to do it. So here is a simple data. American Pediatric Association and many similar organizations across globe highlight that 0 to 2 years is not a good time for screen exposure. So, if you have children under the age of 2, if you have not yet celebrated the second birthday of your child, then a good idea is to keep the child away from a screen. I would not recommend you to give any kind of exposure of a screen to the child. But if your child has celebrated second birthday, then your child is ready for interactive educational content. And please note that when it is an interactive session where somebody is talking on the screen, then there is a phenomenon that happens with children, which we call as serve and return. If you want to read more about serve and return, you feel free to read it more on the uh, page of Developing Child Institute at Harvard. They have done great research in that, and they have shared a 5-step formula also about serve and return. So if you want to do something like that, where a stimulation is given to a child through interactive screen classrooms, and then the child returns it. The child follows it either by jumping or running around or going here and there, and then the child gets into a physical exercise mode or follows, or you have seen that the children were doing, twins were doing yoga. So anything like that comes under the category of serve and return, and these kind of interactive classrooms, let's be ready that we have to integrate in day-to-day functioning. We have to configure the day like that. But when you are doing so, parents, certain things to keep in mind. And the most important thing about that is collaboration. Kindly ensure that you are always connected with the school authorities or preschool authorities of your children. Communicate with the teachers as much as possible. Do not shy away or hesitate in sharing the challenges that you are facing when the screen time is going on for children. Once you have accepted the reality, once you have configured the screen time or screen classes, online classes for your children, the next thing to do is to collaborate with the providers, because this back and forth communication will help the child immensely in continuing the learning curve. But this should not happen in a random way. Those who have attended my sessions in past must be well aware of the fact that routine is something which is of high significance for children. kindly do not deviate from the time zones much. So let's say if your child gets up at 7 in the morning, then within 40 minutes he or she should get up every single day. Do not deviate much from this 40 minutes window, because consistency is the key to a child's brain. Routine gives predictability of the day to a child's brain. And when the things are predictable, that's when the children's brain are found to be very, very less in stress. So that's another important thing that you need to keep in mind. So do not randomly start online classes for your child, and if you start, please try to follow it on routine basis, and do not deviate much in terms of timings for routine for the classes. Talking to your children helps a lot under this time, because the more you talk, the more they are curious. Kindly focus on inquisitive nature of your child. They should ask as many questions to you. You should ask as many questions as possible to them, and conversations are the key at this juncture. But not only the conversations in the family, but also to the social settings. So, no harm in connecting with extended family members, the friends, the neighbors through video calls. Socialization is a key of happiness for children, and as parents, we need to understand that social distancing does not mean social isolation. So we need to stay connected with distant relatives and friends. It is very significant for children's learning curve, because when children go out in school in group setting, they not only learn academics, they also learn the basic science of life, and that is equally important in growth. Amidst all this, parent, my humble request, the last but the most important aspect here, you really need to take care of yourself to take care of your children. So, parents, check your own stress levels. I know it is not easy. We have conducted sessions in past about working from home and working for home scenarios. We have communicated to close to now 500 plus parents, where they are struggling to make ends meet. I also face that at times as mother of two, and I'm sure you must be facing that as well, where we feel a sense of burning out, where we are facing challenges. And this is something that gives us a challenge where we really face at times where we really want to get our answers and we seek support. So feel free to write to us if you have any such situations in future also. But right now, let me take up the questions that I am receiving, because this is something I really would like to discuss and make it as interactive as possible. But I really don't want to miss on anything. Let me take up the first question that came to me. My child will turn 1 year old next month. Because of pandemic, we are not able to take him out. His human interaction is quite less. Because of that, he sees only us in the home. How can we improve that? 1 year old child, um, mommy or daddy dear, I would say, is very much ready for social interactions. So you are very right in thinking that the more a child goes out, the better it is for the child, and the interactions are important. But this pandemic has given us tough time. So I'll tell you a few very basic scientific aspects related to social development of children. The very first unit of social development for a child is family. So thankfully you are there, the family is intact, the child gets the exploration at this time. So that's a wonderful thing. But during the first 10 to 12 months of life, the child is also ready to interact with the other social bodies, like neighbors, like community, like peers. So your child is actually at the stage where he or she should be getting the exposure. He should be getting the exposure of socialization. But in current pandemic scenario, unfortunately, we are not able to offer that. I'll be honest in telling you, Is this there a substitute to socialization within the family? The answer is no, my dear. There is nothing that a family can substitute as society. So that's not the possibility. But research has given us some support here. So few things that you can take help in. One thing that you can do is to talk and read a lot to your child. I would heavily recommend you to read more about serve and return that I just explained. In serve and return, what happens is that this is developed by a child institute at Harvard, and in this, what they do, first thing is both parents and the child share the focus. The first step is to share the focus. That means the moment your child points out at something, pointing a finger out, at that time you need to point the finger in the same direction and talk about, oh, you see a bird in the sky. So point out at the sky and say. And the next step is you support and encourage what the child is highlighting by saying the words like, oh, I also see a bird in the sky. Oh, the bird is flying very high. And at that time, the third step comes in, which is naming it. So you name that like bird, sky, these things. So you repeat and highlight and add words to what the child is pointing out. And this communication goes back and forth. Oh, I don't see much clouds today. Looks like it is a sunny day. And but yeah, yesterday it was cloudy. It was raining also a few weeks back, heavy rains. Then you do back and forth with the child. And then the moment your child gets distracted, is not in listening to you or is not participating, then the fifth step comes, which is the ending part. Your child is telling you, I'm done with this conversation, let's move on to something else. You can read more about servant written, or you can write to me. I can share some scientific ways to interact with your child at home. But servant written is a wonderful tool that you can try, because when a child is not able to interact in society or with peers, we might see some delays in language development. So language development has a progression, which is LSRW. I listen, then I speak, then I read, and then I write. So, in this time, when your child is close to a year, my dear, focus a lot in listening and speaking of the child. So, the more you talk to your child, the more your child will listen. So, you can compensate that loss of social interactions by interacting more with the child, by talking more to the child, sharing the focus, and having back and forth conversations, like I just gave you the example. And this should help you in controlling the impact of this pandemic to a great extent. Will it affect his social skills? My dear, we have no science or no data to answer your question, because the impact is yet to be seen. But in past, if children are not interacting with peers for a long term, they do show us delay in leadership skills at time. But it is yet to be seen how much will be the impact, and if families are interacting, if a child gets to interact, then it's a great idea. I would also recommend you to see if you can transition a bit from 100% homebound care to a bit of strolling or walking outside in safe conditions. Ensure the safety of the child for sure. But even if the child is not able to interact with his peers, no harm in taking a child for a solitary walk or solitary stroll in the pram, where the child sees the nature, explores the leaves, the trees, because nature plays a significant role in stimulating the logical part of the brain. So you should try that. It should help the child in some way or the other. So I hope you got your answer to this extent. Yeah. My kid doesn't communicate much. He speaks all the words, rhymes, but he doesn't have conversations with us. He speaks only on urgent basis. When he was in daycare, he used to interact, but teachers did complain he expressed less. How to deal with this problem? I need to know the impact age-wise. So I would request mommy if you can please share the age of the child. I can probably help you more. He is 2 years, 7 months old. Okay. I think 2 years, 7 months old is a good time to develop language. But language has one important thing to understand. Language not only develops in terms of LSRW, like I was explaining to the other mommy right now, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, but language is also developing in two ways. One is receptive, and another one is expressive. Let's try to understand this. Receptive is I receive what you are saying. So let's say if you are saying, "Hey, Meghna, can you pass me the glass of water?" Then I have to pass the glass of water to you, not necessarily say anything, but I received your command and I'm doing according to it. So I would heavily recommend you to understand that receptive language should develop by now. Your child should be following the instructions, should be able to uh, understand what is being asked. Expressive language, when I say, "Oh, yeah, I can pass the bottle to you. Oh, yeah, I would love to give you the water. Yeah, yeah, sure, why not?" These kind of expressions to the command comes a little late. Your child is still exploring the world. I won't worry much about it because he's only 2 years, 7 months. But I will keep an eye on it for sure. And the way to develop expressive language is whenever your child is interacting with you, you express a lot. So I'll give you some very basic examples. For example, your child is pointing at water filter because the child needs to have water. Then you kind of act, "Oh, you need this spoon. Oh, you need this plate." Simply because you are just saying, "I'm not understanding," till you say the word water. And then finally you say, "Oh, I think you need water. Oh, you need to have a glass of water." So you express, and that should help you immensely in developing the expressive part of the language of the child. Continue doing these kind of exercises where you read a lot to the child, talk a lot to the child, naming the things. And again, serve and return helps you a lot in language development. So name the things. See what the moment you see something, you should name it: water, jala, neer, pani. So multilingualism help a lot. So India is blessed in that way that we have many languages. I would request you to uh, give the exposure of as many languages as possible. Rhymes, nursery rhymes or songs work very differently in human brain. The part of the brain that works through rhymes or nursery rhymes or songs is actually for my memorization. But expressive and receptive language works from a different part of the brain. So I would say you focus on this receptive and expressive language part. Rhymes and songs help in expression to some extent, but more or less it is the conversation that helps. So you should try that a lot. Not much to worry, but keep an eye on it. If you do not see much improvement in coming 6 to 8 months, that is when you need to consult your pediatrician. I hope you got your answer. Okay, I have a few more questions. Would there be any positive impact if I'm planning to put my kid in a boarding school with a view to all around development? Your thoughts, please. This is during future when he attains about 9 to 10 years age. Uh, uh, well, I would say this question needs a bit more specific details if it is has to be answered for one particular child. But if you ask me in general whether boarding schools help or not, so we have mixed reviews coming out for this particular aspect of education. When children are found to be staying away from families, They learn a lot with peers in this age group of 9 to 10 years. Peers gradually take the front seat and parents take the back seat in a child's life by the time a child reaches to teenage. Uh, but whether a child will develop very positively or all around development through boarding school, we do not see much results coming in that direction through various studies. There is not much of difference in a child who is being raised by parents and is going to a school, whereas a child who is into a boarding school away from parents. Actually, most of the studies highlight that it is a better idea to keep the child with the family and give the exposure of the life through parents' guidance and parents' role modeling. So, if you really want to have a all around development for your child, the best scenario is to have the child within the family. Parents are doing what they want their child to learn. So, it is basically walk the talk. You want your child to wash hands after coming from outdoor play, then you have to wash your hands when you enter into your home. So walk the talk as much as possible in every way, walk of life, everywhere, wherever possible. Whatever you want to teach to your children, you need to do that yourself. And if you have done something like that, then peers and socialization with family, friends, giving exposure to the child to as many other children as possible, as many group settings possible. That's when the child learns best. I do not have much studies to highlight that boarding schools give a all-round development to children. So I'm giving you very scientific answer, research-based answer to your question, that most of the developmental aspects of children are well achieved when they are raised in a beautiful, positive environment within the family, and parents are actually doing what they want their children to learn, and the child is getting enough opportunities to socialize and good academic atmosphere at home and good socialization atmosphere at home produces wonderful impact on child's psyche. So I would recommend you to think on those lines as well. I hope I could answer your question a bit, if not in depth, because we don't have much studies, Daddy dear, in that direction to support the children. But yes, this is what we see happening around us, and this is what I have seen while working with various children. So I hope you got your answer. I think I have taken up the questions. I'm not missing out on any question. If you have anything else in mind, I'm here for another minute or so, but I think I have answered all the questions. Thank you so much for attending this webinar and asking me the interesting questions. I really feel honored and blessed. Okay, he's 3 years old and already interested in army and others. I was hoping to put him in Sainik school in future, hence the question. Okay, in that case, I would say wait a little more. Children's choices and children's preferences change. They literally change with age, and it is too early to decide on that. In coming 6 to 10 years, who knows what this child wants and where the interest lies. So I would not recommend you to make a decision right now. Also, you should prepare your child in terms of independence if you are looking forward for sending your child to any setting like boarding school. Children do uh, see a higher trend. We see a higher trend when children attend boarding school in terms of their independence. But I think this bonding between a parent and child is equally important in those crucial years of development. So, choice is yours, you decide. But I would say let's wait and see where the child's interest goes, because children do have very different range of interest when they are growing. So let's wait and watch. Yep. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for the wonderful questions. I learn a lot when I hear from you. Thank you so much for attending this webinar. We totally appreciate your presence, and please do not hesitate to join us in future also, or write to us where you can share your feedback, your thoughts, your concerns. Thank you. If you found the answer useful, my pleasure totally. And stay tuned, parents. Have a great day ahead. Have a great weekend ahead. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks a ton.